Hey guys, welcome back to Book Club for Movies. If I seem a little flustered, it's because this is the second take and I accidentally forgot to hit record. So bear with me. We're doing it again. We're doing it live. This week's going to be a little different from previous weeks. If you're wondering why, that's because you can see I got this microphone in my hand. I've been watching a lot of speed videos recently, and I really like keeping it casual with a microphone in my hand. And if I get used to keeping a microphone in my hand, it doesn't feel awkward. And this way, if I want to, talk away from the camera for some reason, I can talk away from the camera as opposed to being stuck with whatever's attached on board. So, welcome back to Book Club for Movies. Today, we're continuing our series of Is Fandango Fanclub Still Worth It? Now, if you're new to this video series, we've done a couple based on I paying for Fandango Fanclub. I've been paying for it since December of 2025, and here we are picking up after a couple months with Fan Club. Now, we're tracking a couple key things here. We're tracking how much value am I getting out of the membership versus how much it's cost me. We're tracking if I had a $100 gift card, which I do, how long is that gift card lasting? And then third, just because I'm curious, what's my concessions going to run me at the end of the year? Now, my goal is to see at least 12 movies this year. I might see a movie more than once. I may go to the theater more than one time in a month, but the goal is to at least go to the theater 12 times this year. Especially with how much, rampant AI use and death of theaters going around. This may be my last year going to the theater. I may just say goodbye to it and just go back to watching everything on video, but since Disney laid off its entire home video division this week, I may be stuck with old movies, which is fine by me, but harder for some people like my wife or my mom. But anyway, welcome back to Book Club for Movies. Now, since we spoke last time, I have made a little bit of a punch card to keep track of things. This is what that card looks like. By the end of the year, I'm going to have 12 punches on this card. And if you're wondering what my ranking is from so far this year, I've got Send Help in at first place. Can't wait to rewatch that movie. But the movie I keep thinking about more than anything else I've seen this year, either in theaters or at home, is second place, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Now that that's officially out on streaming, you all go and see that movie. I genuinely really enjoyed it, and I'm still thinking about a lot of the topics and discussions that it's brought up in my own head. And then because I've seen 3 movies this year, by default, third place, last place, Scream 7. If you want to know my thoughts on Scream 7, you can watch the previous episode of Book Club for Movies. For better or for worse. Anyway, we're picking up where we left off at the end of March last month. Now, I told you all at the end of that last video that I was torn, because Ready or Not 2 was now opening the same weekend as Project Hail Mary. And that determined what movie am I going to see. And then Project Hail Mary, I saw how many theaters that was forecasted to open at and its opening forecast. And I said, we should probably go see a movie that's not going to be around near as long. So we ended up going to see movie number 4, which is Ready or Not 2. Here I come. Now, before we get there, to pick up where we left off last time, I had now seen another 2 movies, which meant I got a $5 code from purchasing 4 tickets. Allowed me to use my $5 code plus my gift card, and that convenience fee was waived, which meant I got to save a little bit. Now, updating our tracker. Using the convenience fee being waived and that $5 credit, now I will say that $5 for purchasing 4 tickets, you can get that if you don't pay for Fan Club. That's just a benefit to using Fandango. But since I'm using the service with the premium membership, I'm keeping that with my overall total. I hope you understand. That convenience fee being added in with that $5 for ticket credit means that we have now saved or gained $47.15 overall in our value proposition. Removing the cost of the second ticket and the leftover from that $5 ticket credit means that the $82.44 left over has now become $73 flat. Now, we ended up seeing Ready or Not 2 at our dead mall, the beloved Ashboro Cinemark. It's a dead mall theater, non-reclining seats, but after what we experienced in Scream 7, we really wanted to see something in a less crowded theater. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Ready or Not 2, and I'm going to try to be spoiler-free as much as possible. When I watched Ready or Not 2, I went in about, I want to say, 80% blind, because I knew the basic premise, just from the gist of it being Ready or Not 2, but I didn't know all of the direct characters. I didn't know the cast. I didn't know who Catherine Newton was playing. I didn't know any of that. I just knew that it was Ready or Not 2, and it took place the morning after the first movie. And with the setup of course, more than one family would have made the deal that the family from the first movie made, they're now up for grabs for determining the power ranking of all of these families that made the deal with Mr. LaBelle. So they have to hunt down the bride, played by Samara Weaving, and they have to use the weapons from whenever they made the deal with Mr. LaBelle. And they've got alternates, they've got family. They really use that premise well. And when I saw this in the movie, the first thing I thought of, and I've been making this joke to myself for the last month, was the trailer for The Bourne Legacy, or the poster for The Bourne Legacy, if you remember that said there was never just one. Ready or Not 2, there was never just one. Makes absolutely perfect sense that more than one family would have made this deal for wealth and power and the whole ordeal that comes with that. We saw it on a Sunday afternoon at our dead mall theater, and we had a good time. I would say that it is a good sequel. It's a great sequel, actually, because it just immediately gets the ball rolling. I would say it's harder to make a great sequel than a good first movie, because it has to make sense. It has to be non-contrived. And this checks all of those boxes for, does this make sense? Does it add on to the world? Does it build? Do we like the new characters? Does it use the old characters well? And this checks all of those boxes. I think I might like this more than the first movie, just because it doesn't have to explain the plot to us like the first movie did. And that's generally why I like franchises. You know, I like movies, don't get me wrong. I like quality movies, but you get me a sequel, you get me an excellent sequel that doesn't have to deal with the baggage of setting all the characters up. We just get to see those characters go out and play. I like a good sequel. But I'm going to give Ready or Not 2 a solid 4 out of 5. Now, if I had brought my bad bingo card with me from Scream 7, we did have a baby in Ready or Not 2, but thankfully that baby only spoke about twice, and I didn't have any of the other things. So I didn't win or lose, for to coin a phrase, I didn't lose bad movie bingo like I did in Scream 7. Now, picking up our tracking, I did get concessions at Ready or Not 2. I bought a small popcorn, I bought myself a Coke Zero, a small drink, and I bought my wife a bottle of water, and that came to $19.15. So, updating our concessions tracking for this point, we're at $94.09. So I'm going to be horrified to see how much money I spent on concessions at the end of the year. I know that for a fact. I get to punch my card, and now this leads us into the new ranking, because now that I have seen 4 movies, Scream 7's no longer going to be in third place. And I imagine to see it trail further and further down as we move on. But Ready or Not 2 comes in at third place, bumping Scream 7 to fourth place of the 4 movies I've seen in the theater this year. Now, this is where things get interesting. The end of March comes and goes, which means I have to start paying for Fan Club again. Now, I paid for 3 months of Fan Club up front in December. That was one of the things that appealed to me of this service, was the ability to prepay and then have it show up on December's balance sheet as opposed to every month's balance sheet. Then it just becomes another recurring subscription cost that I have to make sure I'm getting my money's worth out of. But since March comes and goes, that means I now have to pay for Fan Club, and that means that whatever the service ends up costing me is going to be deducted from our overall value proposition. Since Fandango costs me $10.69, we're going to start off April by removing $10.69, meaning that we are now at $36.46. We're going to see how this goes. I'm very interested. But anyway, here we are in April. Happy April, everybody. April showers bring May flowers, and it is the end of April. I told you all I'd be busy. My wife and I were on a trip, and we almost went and saw Mario. But all of the theaters in the city that we were visiting were pretty much sold out. And nothing appealed to me less than seeing Mario at a packed theater, guaranteed to be filled with screaming children. So we ended up not seeing Mario. We didn't want to see Hail Mary because we knew it was going to make us cry. And we ended up not seeing anything that weekend. And then that weekend turned into another weekend. And now here we are 3 weeks into April. And I hadn't seen a movie yet for April. And that meant I have a credit that's going to expire at the end of this coming week. So I needed to see something. But what was I going to see? Then I did the old man thing of my wife said, maybe let's go see a movie Sunday. And I open Fandango and I just see what's playing this weekend. What's at the theater this weekend. And that's how I stumbled across a little movie by the name of Normal. Movie number 5 is Normal. Now, before we get to the movie, let's talk about our value proposition getting there. Now, we went to see this at a different Regal than we had been to earlier this year. This is kind of what I think of as the nicer Regal in our area. But even though I had my $10 credit, since we're talking about a nicer theater, $10 didn't pay for the cost of my ticket and certainly wasn't going to cover the cost of anything else. So I got my $10 membership credit for April, I've got my convenience fee being waived, and then I had to pay for the remainder of my ticket and then pay for the entirety of my wife's ticket with the gift card. Which means when we're talking about our value proposition, adding on our $10 membership credit and the convenience fee being waived means that I have gained $50.84 on Fandango thus far this year. And even though we started out at $73 for April, paying for the rest of my ticket and paying for my wife's ticket bumps us down to $57.40. So I'm interested to see when this is going to run out. I doubt it's going to make it to December, but I'll let you know whenever it's run out. Now, I will say I went in about 95% blind. Hadn't seen a trailer, hadn't seen the poster until I bought tickets. I just saw Bob Odenkirk's face on the poster, and I said, Bob Odenkirk's in a movie. And I clicked on it. And I read the first sentence of the log line and saw that it was listed as an action movie. And the premise is that Bob Odenkirk is a substitute sheriff, and the small town that he's at is not what it seems. And I said, okay, I like Bob Odenkirk. I love Bob Odenkirk in an action movie. So we paid to see it. And then I looked at the movie after we had bought tickets and come to find out that this movie is written by the writer of the Nobody series, who is also the creator of a little movie franchise called John Wick and wrote the first 3 films in the series. So I'll say I was a little excited because I really did enjoy Nobody 2. I liked Nobody 1, and normal Nobody, very similar name. I was piqued. My interest was piqued. And then that first 20 minutes really dragged on, and I was starting to worry. But then the movie takes it up a notch once we get to the bank. When you get to the bank, the movie really gets going, and that's where I recommend the movie. I'll tell you, this movie I will elevator pitch to you as the guy who created John Wick wrote Fargo. And the Fargo connection is not something I'm pulling out of the ether. The sheriff that Bob Odenkirk is replacing in small, wintry Minnesota town is named Gunderson. And the first thing I'm thinking of is Norm, son of a Gunderson. Where's Marge? And it's not John Carroll Lynch. It's just somebody named Gunderson, which made me feel like if I'm writing a movie that I want to be inspired by Fargo, I'm using Gunderson as a placeholder, but then I'm actually changing the name later, and it looks like we made it to print and forgot to change that name. But I will tell you, this movie feels it's really close to feeling like direct to Redbox. Now, I know this movie was made cheaply. From what I can see, this movie cost a little less than $20 million. They're not giving exact figures yet, but they're just saying it cost less than $20 million. But the first Nobody cost 16 in 2021, or whenever it came out. And if you adjust for inflation, that's about $20 million today, and that movie looks more expensive because they are a little bit better behind the camera. Now, that's no knock against the director. I haven't seen anything else the director's made. I think his most well-known movie is High Rise. Still haven't seen High Rise. And I have not seen his most popular movie, or at least most successful movie. I haven't seen The Meg 2, The Trench, because I've not seen The Meg 1, the Jason Statham Chinese shark film. I'm as shocked as you are that I haven't seen the Jason Statham shark movie, but that's not showing up at the McKay's bargain bin yet, so that explains that. I'll tell you, why do I say this feels just a little bit above direct to Redbox? And that's because the action scenes are good. The set pieces are good. The writing is good. Except it's got that cheap movie staple of having several scenes where you've got characters facing away from camera, and you can tell what they're saying was piped in later, and they needed to fix some things. Which means either this movie was edited to death, or it needed about 1 to 2 more final passes of polish. Because there are a lot of jokes that you can tell were added in at the last possible minute, where they almost feel like I edited the video and the audio just gets cut off because I edit. I'm still getting used to editing again. But I'll say the action is good, the set pieces are good, but it's a rung below what you expect from, when I tell you, from the John Wick team. It's a rung below Nobody. It's a rung below John Wick. It's a rung below Bullet Train. It doesn't mean it's bad. I will recommend this movie, but I'm calling it at a high 3, lowest possible 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I'll see it again, probably, at some point. If my dad asked me what's something you should see this weekend, I'd say Normal. My dad would like this movie. But I would still say it's worth your time because I love Bob Odenkirk. Bob Odenkirk as an action star, I still love the dichotomy of that. He's so good at playing these roles. But when you watch this movie, you will also see some hanging threads they never come back to, and a lot of piped in jokes that definitely weren't filmed. So with that, I'm giving it a low 3.5 out of 5. Now, before we talk about the overall ranking and how this might shake things up, I did get some concessions on this Sunday afternoon. I paid for 2 liters of water. It's the liter of smart water you can get at a Regal, and Regal loves to charge you for a lot of money for smart water. I believe this liter of smart water costs the same as getting a tall boy of a bubbly, which is crazy to me, but again, that's Regal, captive audience. I paid for a medium popcorn as well, which meant that our total for concessions came to $26.13. Bringing our new total to an astronomical, we broke it this week, people. We have broken the $100 barrier, which means I'm now at $120.17 spent on concessions. And we're at the end of April. Again, I am horrified to what this number is going to be come December, because it's not the movies. To me, I haven't gone to the movies unless I've got a drink or I've got a snack. So we're going to see what this becomes in December. That allows me to punch my punch card for the 5th time this year, getting closer to that 12 movie punch. And that allows me to update our rankings. Ready or Not 2 sits solid at 3rd place, and Normal sits below at 4th. Scream 7 sits over there at 5th. Because the more I think about Scream 7, the less I like it. Now, I still enjoyed it. I've not hated anything I've seen this year, but I can see a lot more problems the longer it sits in my head. Normal has some problems, but Normal also has Bob Odenkirk doing action scenes with environmental Home Alone style traps. And that's always going to be higher in my book. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I gotta feed the cat. Have a great week, everybody. This is Gray signing off for Book Club for Movies. Have a great week, everybody.